This is the lecture for Joshua Schulz's article, Machine Grading and Moral Learning. So, in the article, he talks about this idea of functionalism. And he talks about functionalism specifically about the mind, and that's also known as computationalism. And so that would be the second topic in this lecture. I'm just going to explain it uh, again, not again, but maybe explain it the first time so that when you run across it in the article, it might make sense. He does explain it, but maybe not as thoroughly as you might like. But before we do functionalism about the mind, we'll do functionalism about another topic, which sort of I think it's easier to understand functionalism about that topic, and it's going to be money. We're going to do functionalism about money, and even before we do that, so the way he introduces it is he says, consider a classic functionalist analogy. The purpose of a mousetrap is to catch and kill mice. This task can be broken down into smaller tasks. A mousetrap requires a baiter, a trigger, a trapper, and a killer. Many devices made of many materials can satisfy these functional conditions for being a mousetrap. So he describes various things. So basically the idea is, what is it to be a mousetrap? It's not being made of some kind of particular material or made of some kind of like specific design or something. What defines something as a mousetrap, what makes some object a mousetrap as opposed to something else, is the function of the object. If it baits and traps and kills mice via some sort of trigger or whatever, it is a mousetrap. So I don't care what you build it out of. I don't care. Like, you can design a brand new mousetrap made out of who knows what. Like, as long as it fulfills this function of catching and killing mice, that thing is a mousetrap. So that's functionalism about mousetraps. It says what it is to be a mousetrap is not about what it's made of, not its material, not anything else. It's about its function. If it catches and kills mice, it is a mousetrap. So functionalism about mousetraps is probably fine. I don't know. Like, you get to decide. Is functionalism about mousetraps true or false? Is what it is to be a mousetrap a matter of function, or is it a matter of something else? A topic where functionalism is, I don't know, almost certainly correct, or at least pretty compelling, is money. If you think about what makes something money, uh, it's pretty plausible to say that, well, uh, okay, there are other theories, but functionalism is a good theory. And functionalism says what makes something count as money is the fact that it's treated as a medium of exchange. So, um, let me. So why is this money? Like, what makes it money? Is it the fact that it's blue, or is it the fact that it's paper, or is it the fact that it's shaped like a rectangle, or is it the stuff that's printed on it? No, none of that matters. What matters is that people treat it as money. The fact that if I hand this to a shopkeeper, I can buy something with it. Now, of course, there are various reasons that they're treating this as money and not this. But, uh, you know, so like the writing that's printed on it or whatever, it is relevant for what it takes to get people to treat it as money. But if tomorrow everybody woke up and stopped treating this as money, they said, like, if tomorrow they do demonetization again and the government says this doesn't count as money, and everybody just sort of goes along with that, then it doesn't matter what's printed on the bill. It doesn't matter what kind of paper it's made out of. It doesn't matter what color it is. It's not going to be money because it doesn't function as money. People don't treat it as money. And so similarly, why does, well, why does my debit card work for money? Well, because people treat I mean, it's not the debit card that's the money. It's the numbers in the computer server somewhere that the debit card hooks up to. Why is that money? Why are those like ones and zeros on a hard drive? Why are they money? Well, because people treat it as money when I give the debit card or whatever, um, and it says, we've transferred X amount. People treat that as money. And so what makes something money is not its physical form or anything like that. It's the fact that it functions in a certain way. So what counts as money? Anything that people treat as a medium of exchange. And we can use like, pieces of metal shaped into discs. So coins count as money. Some places have used like rocks or shells. There's, I guess, a society, I'm not sure if they still do this, but they used to have like huge, gigantic rocks that they would treat as money, but lugging the rocks back and forth got to be really annoying. So then they would just like, everybody would remember which rock belonged to which person. So if you trade your rock to somebody, nobody would ever actually move the rock. Like they would just remember that, oh, now it's your rock or whatever. And so effectively they just had what we have now, which is like the money is like floating off in the sky or whatever. Um, and that's fine. It doesn't have to be a physical thing. It can just be an idea. As long as it functions as money, it's money. So that's functionalism about money. And why are we bothering to talk about any of this? Well, because there's a related idea, which is very important in the study of the philosophy of artificial intelligence, which is functionalism about the mind. And so the thought is, what is it to be conscious? What is it to have a mind? Well, you could say it's something having to do with like our brain and having certain neural matter or something and blah, blah, blah. But the functionalist says, no, no, no. What it is to have a mind is to carry out the functions of a mind. So what is it that your mind does? Well, it thinks about stuff and it makes decisions and it whatever whatever your mind does. You can use it to write papers. You can use it to compose music. You can use it to solve math problems. Your mind does all sorts of things. And the functionalist says whatever can do that is a mind. And you can imagine the fact that, now we're starting to build computers that can do these things. This means computers can have minds. Now, what exactly are the functions? That gets a little complicated. So figuring out what functions we're interested in, that's a separate topic. But just grant that the mind is sort of defined by these functions. Then it means if you can make a computer do that, then the computer has a mind. Even if it doesn't have like a squishy brain like us, even if it's made out of silicon or something, that's fine. The mind can be sort of realized in whatever form you want, as long as it carries out the functions. Just like the mousetrap can be built out of whatever you want, or the money can be made out of whatever you want, as long as it carries out the functions. So this is also known as computationalism, because you might think the mind is sort of, what the mind is doing is it's computing things. And so if you build a computer that can compute things the way the mind computes things, then the computer has the mind. Like it's got what we've got. So that's an interesting topic. If you want to know more about functionalism and computationalism and stuff, this is a huge topic in the philosophy of mind. We're not going to talk a ton about it in the AI ethics course because it's not like directly relevant to ethics. But you might think whether or not computers are moral patients, or AI can be a moral patient, thinking back to a couple lectures ago. Maybe that depends on whether or not it's conscious, whether or not it has a mind. So that might be relevant. It obviously comes up in this article because Schulz is talking about functionalism with respect to computers grading things. So that's functionalism about the mind and about sort of AI minds, potentially.